Hi everyone, and you're very welcome again to inspiredstartups.com. We're continuing with our series of videos with entrepreneurs, and today we're going to be talking to Cristina Luminea of ThoughtBox. And Cristina has recently been named as one of the top 30 under 30 entrepreneurs in Ireland. Really exciting for her. Her company ThoughtBox was also named in the App Store's Best of 2012 in 15 countries, just a month after launching. So another really great achievement for a young startup at the time. And then this year, Cristina has been involved in partnering with European pioneers to help young startups, 25 young startups in fact, over the next 2 years. So she's a really great person for us to be speaking to on inspiredstartups.com. So hi Cristina, thanks very much for talking to us today. It's brilliant to have you on inspiredstartups.com.
Thanks a million, Susan. It's great to be here, and thanks for inviting me on your website.
Yeah, like I said, I was really looking forward to meeting you and really looking forward to talking to you. So thanks for your time. So I suppose let's start at what's happening right now. And you were telling me earlier that today is the last day for people to get in their applications for your new venture, which is with European pioneers, and it's for young startups. And you've got involved in it, and it sounds brilliant. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's great, to be honest. It's ThoughtBox, together with another four companies around Europe. We came together and we raised 4.5 million euro from the European Union to fund 25 startups over the next 2 years. So the first call for application is now, it ends today, literally. So we were kind of sitting there, fingers crossed that everything is working perfectly and nothing is crashing in the background. We're looking for startups in specific areas like e-learning, gaming, smart cities, and socially connected TV. The best thing about it is that we're investing up to 250,000, and it's actually free money. So the startups don't have to give away equity. They don't have to have us on their board of directors and all of that stuff.
That's an incredible opportunity for young startups.
Yeah. It is, and we want to make sure that they get the chance to actually get out there and do something and achieve something, that's going to bring them from a startup to a company that's ready to be invested in.
Mm-hmm. When you were starting out yourself, could you ever see yourselves being involved in helping other startups like this?
Not really. No. I don't think you ever think that far.
Yeah,
I remember we thought we knew everything, but at the same time we knew nothing. It's something that we really never really dreamt about, but it's really exciting.
Yeah, because sometimes I think people don't give themselves the opportunity to look back and say, oh my God, now I'm involved in this, from when I started, like you say, people would never think they'd be involved in something like this. But so, again, recently you were named as in the top 30 under 30 best entrepreneurs in Ireland. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. They got me just in time, just
great.
Just before 30.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's fantastic.
So it was a great achievement. I was, kind of my heart went.
Oh, that's really good.
Especially because I was one of the very few women there as well that were mentioned. So it's good to see people kind of supporting female entrepreneurs as well.
Absolutely, and maybe we'll talk a bit about that later on, but tell us a little bit about ThoughtBox, how it all started and how it came about.
Yeah, so ThoughtBox started 3 years ago. We started on the NDRC Launchpad program. And that's when we kind of had a concept and kind of talking about what we know now and we didn't know then, or we thought we knew everything. We went in, I remember, with a plan, and we knew exactly what we were going to do for the 3 months and where we were going to go and, what we were going to have built and so on. And within the first 2 weeks, we just threw everything away and started all over. There's so much stuff that you don't think about when you start a business.
And was that hard to do, to throw away that initial plan?
No, it wasn't. The Launchpad guys are really good at actually showing you that it makes sense, or the whole lean canvas and lean approach makes sense. You can't just go in with a plan. You need to start talking to your users, your customers, to make sure that what you're doing makes sense.
And did you find it difficult to stay confident in your idea when you had to start all over again, throw out the first plan?
Yeah, I think it's always a challenge. As you go along, you always kind of hit these walls, and you need to make sure that you manage to change or shift or pivot in order to stay alive and to be relevant. So it's always a challenge. The way I describe it, sometimes it's an emotional roller coaster, and you're mostly going down rather than up whenever you're building a startup. But it's challenging as well, and it's rewarding. For us, for example, working with the kids was huge. That's when we realized what we didn't consider. We would have made so many mistakes, but instead we ended up building small little prototypes and going off and tested them with kids, and we got their feedback. And I remember at one point we were surprised because we were going to go into a certain direction, and we said, okay, let's give them a choice of 3 different things, and we built 3 different levels, let's say, in a game that had different gameplays in them. One that we thought it was really easy, one of them we thought it was kind of medium, and a really difficult one. And all kids got stuck on on what we thought was really easy, and were flying through what we thought was really difficult. So if it was for us, we would have went with the really easy way or something that we thought was going to be really easy for them to interact with.
So that was huge insight.
Exactly. So from that perspective, throwing away the plan, that's when we realized that we needed to do that work in order to make whatever we're making, to make it relevant and engaging and fun for kids to play.
And do you think being part of the accelerator program and the incubator gave you the support to do that and gave you those ideas?
Yeah,
so that was
definitely.
Really,
so that was really important. We had never heard of the lean business model before. We've never heard of the lean canvas before. It was the first time we were introduced to this new way of thinking. I was coming from a corporate environment, working for HMH before, so in corporate things are being done differently than in startups. So it definitely helped us a lot to kind of frame our mind as a startup.
We've heard this before, it's almost like people can't be too lean when they start. I've heard other entrepreneurs saying that. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. We thought we were very lean, and looking back now, I'm thinking we could have done better. When you're in it, you don't really realize that a lot of the times you might be building a lot more than you actually need to, and so on. So it definitely that you can always be leaner.
And were you able to take on the advice that you got in those early days, do you think?
I was like a sponge.
Were you? And is that what you'll be looking for from these young startups that you're going to be helping with the European pioneers?
Yeah, definitely. We don't have all the answers, and of course, a lot of the times that the founders know better because they know their sector better, they know their business better, and so on. But we would be looking for people that are willing to listen and that are actually asking for other people's opinion as well, you know, because I've done it a million times. I asked for you know, from my mentors and from my advisors and investors and so on. So what do you think I should do next? And I've got these two options, and usually they'd say, go with this one. And sometimes I'd go with it, and sometimes I'd just say, okay, fine, I heard everything, I'm going to go my way anyway.
Okay.
You know, and then you hit a wall and you go back and say, okay, you were right. What do I do next?
Okay,
you know?
okay. And thinking back then, what would have been some of the highs and lows for you on the journey with ThoughtBox?
Oh God, it feels so long ago.
Does it?
Yeah, so, you know, I think the biggest problem that we had was coming out of Launchpad and that moment of now what?
Okay.
You know, we had a concept, we had something that we could build, but we needed the funding to build it. So I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of founders are facing out there in the incubator space and so on. A lot of the times the money that you get from an incubator lasts just enough to get you to a point where you actually need more money, but you're not at the point where you can raise angel money or VC money and so on. So it kind of leaves you stranded when you need it the most.
Okay.
And that's why we, you know, the way we structured European Pioneers as well was we said we're not going to just give away 15 grand or 20 grand or 50 grand. We'll go for I don't know, 250 if necessary for a startup to actually get from the idea stage to the place where they have an MVP, it's on the market, and they have their first customers, and they're ready to pitch in front of investors.
Yeah. And was that a low point for you then when you left the Launchpad and you're kind of there on your own a little bit?
Yeah, you know, it's always the case because you're always thinking, where do I get the next funding? Where do I get the next? You know, we were lucky enough because Launchpad allowed us to stay on in NDRC with the office, so we still had the support there. The mentors were still around with the new batch of startups, so we a lot of the times we'd go in and just, you know, pull them aside and say, well, what do you think of this? So from that point of view, I think it was okay, but the main thing I think that kind of would bring you down all the time would be that where do I get the next funding?
Okay. And what any points then that you remember thinking, wow, you know, we've really achieved something here, or we're really on our way, or what were some of those points for you?
Yeah, so when we launched our Numerosity in November 2012, and I remember by December 2012 we were featured in App Store Best of 2012 in 15 countries. That was a huge thing for us, you know, like to be on the market for a month and to be featured by Apple in App Store Best of 2012 of that year. It was huge. So that's when we basically said we're on to something there. And I think the other thing that we looked at as well were the numbers behind the scenes. So we started recording the engagement with our apps, and you know, when we saw that the average session length of play in Numerosity is 19 minutes, it just, that kind of blew us away. We were thinking, how many kids out there would sit down and do maths for 19 minutes?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So that, you know, those are the little things that keep you going, and you know, give you that satisfaction. That's the high points in the roller coaster.
Absolutely. And you were saying to me last year as well, you partnered with Eason's.
Yeah. So last year we partnered with Eason's, and we rebranded Numerosity, and we built a new product based on Numerosity for Eason's, and they're giving it away for free to kids in Ireland and UK. And this year we have partnered with Fives as well, so we're building a brand new game with them, and that we're looking to launch in January.
So in the same way as the incubator and accelerator programs in the beginning were so important for you, are you finding partnerships now are kind of doing the same for ThoughtBox as those things did in the beginning?
Yeah, definitely. So for us, it was a huge thing that we were getting downloads from all around the world, and we were sitting there with a map in front of us, and we were thinking, oh wow, that, it kind of went to each country and so on. So because of that, we tried to make our apps more accessible. And we decided about at the end of last year or so, that we want to make education free for kids all around the world. So this is when we started partnering with brands such as Eason's and Fives and so on, because we want to give all kids worldwide access to free educational content. Looking out there in terms of the apps and games that are free, you usually find ads in them, in the better ones. The other ones might just be something that somebody put together overnight and so on. So we realized that not a lot of people have the means to buy these apps.
Yeah, sure.
And that's why we've said we'll focus on partnerships and try and make them free.
Brilliant. And like, it's an amazing thing to want to do as well, and to be to be doing and to be part of. Is brilliant. So I suppose a little bit then to talk about what it's like being a woman entrepreneur. And you were saying that before you came from a corporate background.
Yeah.
How are you finding the difference, or what's your experience coming from woman in business in the corporate world to woman entrepreneur?
Well, in the corporate world, I didn't really last long.
Okay.
I remember I started working for HMH straight out of college, and I went in there and I was this ball of energy, jumping around, bouncing around and coming up with ideas and talking to people and so on. So I was an R&D project manager, and I was trying to figure out the market. I would have never really known anything about the market in the States before, and how education worked in the States and so on. So I started learning a lot more about that, and talking to teachers on Twitter and so on. And then I started asking them questions. So what do you find challenging, and what would you like to do, and what how do you use technology in your classrooms, and all of that stuff. So based on that, I kept coming up with new and crazy ideas and so on. But very quickly I realized that a lot of those were wasted. Right. So after 2 years or so, I just decided to kind of go in and hand in my notice and go off on my own, and said, okay, well, I'll just take some of those ideas and see if I can make them work.
Wow. Brilliant. Talk about, it just sounds to me like jumping off a cliff in a way. You're leaving in some ways a very safe business environment, I know. And off you go. People
thought I was crazy, and I actually, jumping off a cliff. I remember I saw the other day a picture saying an entrepreneur is somebody that jumps off a cliff and builds a plane on the way down.
Wow. Well, you certainly did that.
Brilliant. So it's that idea of starting with nothing and just building something out of nothing. But yeah, you know, it's a completely different world from corporate. Anyway.
And I mean, you know, I suppose we're hearing so much in the Irish startup community at the moment. There's so much happening. It seems like every day there's another event. You know, recently there was the minister. He announced, Richard Burton announced 93,000 over the next 5 years for jobs in startup. Like, it's really seen as the area of growth in business at the moment. But are there any particular areas that you feel are under-resourced at the moment, or that startups really need, you know, some funding injection, whether it be from government schemes or angel investors, or what? Because you have experience now of getting that funding for the program you're involved with European Pioneers.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely funding needed out there. You know, there's a lot of support at the moment. You know, there's Launchpad, there's WIRA, there's Enterprise Ireland, and there's Enterprise Ireland is brilliant, you know, for startups, but there's still more needed, because as I told you, the startups that go through these incubators, they kind of use the money and the time to figure things out. You know, to figure out if their idea is right, build a few prototypes, build maybe an MVP or something. But usually at the end of the incubator, that's when they're ready to go. And that's when they are running out of funding, basically.
Yeah.
So I think there is a new level of funding required there.
Okay.
And it might very well be around angel investment, because a lot of the times the startups that are coming out of incubators, they're not necessarily at the stage where they can approach VCs or seed investors. They would be too early stage, but at the same time they need to survive. So I definitely think there is a need for more angel investments in Ireland. Yeah,
that would be really great. And I think there is a push to try and increase some of that over the next few years as well, which, so it's at that point though really that you're saying it's really needed at that level. So not really maybe at the early stages, maybe there's a lot of schemes and funding at those points, but then at that level, like you say, when it's the next phase almost. Okay. So what do you look for in an entrepreneur? What do you think are, you know, some of the qualities somebody needs? Because it's, you know, you were saying you have all these ideas, you were a ball of energy in your last job, you know, and it just sounds like there was no other way for you. You were just, you know, you had to do it. But what do you think would be, you know, some of the things that would really help people in becoming an entrepreneur?
I think, you know, passion is the biggest one, and every single entrepreneur that you're talking to will be very passionate about the field that they're in, and about what they do. You know, it's definitely something that, or it's almost the only thing that's going to keep you going through the tough times. Having the passion for what you're doing. You know, and I think also the whole idea of being open to people's suggestions and so on. Like, you know, you have a lot of the times I have people coming to me and say, oh, can you give me some advice on this side of things, or around marketing and so on? How did you guys market your app and apps? And I asked them, okay, so what do you do? Well, I can't tell you. Okay, you can't tell me what you do, but you want me to help you. I think first-time entrepreneurs are a lot of the time scared to share their ideas and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve. And that's why I'm saying, if they're open to and actually share things with people, then you know they're on the right track, because they'll get bits of information every single time and new ideas, and they're going to end up building on top of what they've got.
And how did you manage that balance you were talking about between, you know, having the confidence in your idea, really kind of feeling I'm onto something here, and yet sometimes not going with the advice? Do you know that you were saying, like, sometimes you say, okay, I've listened, but I'm going to go this way, and I'm just wondering about that balance sometimes between, you know, people will talk about knowing when to give up on the idea and change it. How did you manage that bit?
It's, you know, you always need to think one step ahead. And you always need to run the numbers. And, you know, for us, for example, we've learned a lot the moment we launched our apps. We had great kind of achievement when it comes to Apple, and we went viral in Spain and in Brazil on Twitter. But then we realized very quickly that we didn't really get a lot of conversion. So we started learning from that, and we said, okay, well, we can't really support or sustain this. We need to do something. So we went off and talked to our customers again, and then we realized we packed too much into this one app. You know, apps are bite-sized pieces of information, something that people are used to kind of play with and use for a certain amount of time and then give them up. We had 3 years worth of content in our app.
Wow.
You know, so they didn't really realize what they were getting. Also, we realized that there was a disconnect between the user and the customer, so between the child and the parent there as well, and we had to react to all of this. It's all a case of kind of keeping an eye out and figuring out, is what we're doing sustainable? Is it going to bring us somewhere that...
And that connection with the customer seems to have been very important for you, and you seem to have learned an awful lot from that.
Yeah, everything that we build and everything that we do is with the customer, with the kids, with the teachers and with the parents.
Okay, yeah, so that's good advice for people as well, to always make sure that connection is there, I suppose.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So where do you see ThoughtBox and yourself going from here? What's the future hold for you?
We're looking to become the biggest educational provider, a free educational provider in the world, you know, in the next 5 years' time. So hopefully, with the help of brands, we can manage that, and you know, have 30 products out there that cover all different areas when it comes to education and learning.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. I was really happy this week, Niamh Bushnell, the Commissioner for Startups, she sent a tweet in kind of appreciation of the Irish startups community. It was about a recent event that was happening, and she was looking for some help about it, and she just said, you know, the support that's there is amazing. Has that been your experience from other entrepreneurs and startups?
Yes, definitely. You know, the entrepreneurs are very busy, but they don't mind taking an hour away and sitting with somebody over a cup of coffee and, you know, not letting them make the same mistakes that they've made, basically. Sharing their journey and sharing what they've learned and so on. And we've learned a lot like that. You know, we knocked on a lot of doors, and they opened for us, and you know, we always got that support and mentorship and so on. So we're trying to do that the same now as well. Whenever somebody knocks on our door, it's a case of how can we help?
Yeah, you know? Yeah, and it's brilliant, and that's what InspiredStartups.com is all about. So it's really hoping to help as many people as possible and getting people to engage together. You know, I suppose it's a good outlet for that community. But so tell us, where can people find you on the web? And
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter as well at Cristina Luminea. So as soon as you Google my name, you should be able to find all the connections and so on. I'm sometimes tweeting around at ThoughtBox ED as well. But Alex is kind of looking at me strangely now. It's her domain.
Okay. Yeah. But look, thank you so much for talking to us today. It was a real pleasure to chat to you, and wish you all the best in the future. And I've no doubt that you will be exactly what you say. You know, world's #1 in free education in the next 5 years. I've no doubt. So,
thank you very much.
Thanks, Cristina.